So I'm going to talk today about one way you know that your player wants to be better. And I love talking about this because it shows a level of maturation in their mentality and really with their desire to get better. This was shown to me by a player in my program not too long ago, really reinforced to me. Essentially, he came to me and said, Coach, you know, I really want to get better. I really want to improve. What are the things that I need to focus on to improve? What are the areas that I need to get better? I want to be the best. And most of the time, a player will say that to me, and I'll give them feedback and say, yes, go ahead. These are the two areas. But oftentimes, they won't follow through. They're, they're one of these players that, yeah, I want to get better. I want to be the best, but only on my terms. So I want to have more tips to score more goals. I want to, how do I get stronger? How do I get faster? And those things are extremely important. But we also, you need to know what a coach sees and be able to trust them and be able to have the humility to listen to them to say, okay, this is what the coach knows. And maybe he or she knows a little bit more than me and has really impartial perspective on this, on what I need to work on to be able to reach the next step in my game. But this player, he listened, he took notes, and he made a plan and he followed through with it. And suffice to say that he is improving. He is taking big steps, and he was actually not too long ago did really well and got a lot of good feedback when he was at an ID camp. So that's exciting. But really, the one thing or the one way or one question to know that your player wants to be better, are they willing to go and ask the coach, hey, I'm going to be training on my own. What are one or two areas that I need to focus on to improve my game? And a lot of time what happens is parents will come and they'll ask me this question, and maybe sometimes they'll bring the player along with them, maybe they won't, but a lot of times it's the parent, and usually it's because the parents have maybe a more mature perspective and they want their players to be the best. They want their players to make the most out of it. A lot of times, though, it's coming from the parent's perspective. It really needs to be the player's perspective. The player needs to be one going and asking this question. And when you do go and you ask your coach this question, it really shows them three things. That number one, that you're unafraid of them, and you're unafraid of criticism. A lot of players, they don't want to talk to the coach because coach might tell them, "Hey, you're not doing well. You're not performing at the level I need you to perform at." And so they're afraid that the coach might say they're not doing good, so they just step away. They keep the coach on. They just don't really want to even interact with them outside of the team context. And that's not how you grow. Coaches are teachers at heart. They want players that want to improve. They want players who are introspective about their game. And so, number one, it shows them that if you're willing to ask this question, that you're unafraid of them and you're unafraid of criticism. The second part of it is that you have humility, right? That you have the humility to be able to go to them and say, hey, you know what? I'm not where I want to be, that I need to be better, and that I am willing to be coached. I'm willing to improve. I know that I'm not there yet. And that's what I would say to players. If you are willing to be coached, if you're willing to improve, you're not going to be afraid to go to the coach and say, hey, I know everything. I don't need to get better at anything. You know that, hey, I need to spend this time. I need to work on my game. I need to take the next step and for my ability. And that's what I would say to your player. Do they have the humility? Do they know that they need to get better? And are they willing to take that coaching, take that feedback and take the next step? And then finally, you have the discipline to go through with this, even though it may not be something that you like to do. And again, I'll use this player who approached me before. You know, a couple of things that were holding them back were first touch and ball mastery. And, for some people, it's really easy to do those things. It's really easy to go out and work on ball mastery drills. But for a lot of people, it's hard because they may not have spent that time. But he was willing to be disciplined with his ball mastery. He was willing to go out there, time and time again and work on simple drills, but challenging drills that were sometimes, hard and repetitive. And he was willing to do that, and his game has grown as a result of that. And so I would say to your player, be willing to, if you're a parent listening to this, you look at them. If they're willing to, go talk to their coach after hearing this podcast, if they're willing to go and listen to them and say, hey, and the coaches say, this is what I need you to focus on. Those players are usually the ones who are disciplined enough to say, okay, I'm going to follow through and do this for myself. Because in the end, they have to be willing to go as far as they want to go for themselves. And I think about, we're starting to see more and more Americans who are achieving high success, and it's not because their parents were the ones who were doing all this stuff for them. It wasn't like Christian Pulisic's family were the ones who were, going to talk to coaches or getting on him to do what he needs to do. Like, are you getting extra work in? Or are you working on what your coach is telling him to work on? He was the one who was constantly working on his game. He was the one who wanted it for themselves. And I even think of him. I think of, not necessarily from the same generation, but Carly Lloyd was another player like that who was constantly working on her game. And again, she had to have a trainer who really helped her and challenged her to get to that level. But once she absorbed that, she was a player who has seen, who kind of epitomizes work and epitomizes not being afraid of feedback from coaches, because she knows that she's going to go through and follow through and put in the work. So I say that, I say all this to tell your player, it's great to be willing to train hard on your own. It's great to go and put in hard work. But if you want to know if your player is maturing and their mentality is growing and they're going to be really focused on trying to be the best that they can be, see if they'll be willing to go in and ask their coach this question, and let me know what you think, and let me know what happens.